The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Europa was quiet that night, as it had been for the past 15 years since its construction. Tom Reed sat at his console, sipping coffee from his standard-issue thermal mug, when the first anomalous readings appeared on his screen. At first, he thought it was a glitch. The energy signatures were unlike anything he'd seen before, massive spikes of power that seemed to ripple through the fabric of space itself. He ran the standard diagnostic checks, but the readings remained. "Control, this is Europa Station," he called through the comm system. "I'm picking up some unusual activity in the Kuiper Belt. You might want to take a look at this." Within hours, the United Earth Space Command was abuzz with activity. The energy signatures were real, and they were growing stronger. Whatever was out there, it was big. Really big. Captain James Thompson stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced deep space vessel, as it pushed through the darkness toward the source of the readings. His ship had been closest to Europa when the call came in, and Space Command wasn't taking any chances. "Status report," Thompson called out to his crew. "We're approaching the coordinates, sir," replied Lieutenant Wilson from the navigation station. "Energy readings are off the charts. Whatever's out there, it's massive." The horizon's sensors painted a picture that none of them could have prepared for. As they cleared the last belt of ice and rock, they saw them. Ships. Hundreds, maybe thousands of vessels, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to shift colors in the dim starlight. "My God," Thompson whispered. They had all trained for first contact scenarios, but the reality of it was overwhelming. The alien fleet stretched out before them like a city in space, but something was wrong. The ships were dark, with only minimal power signatures coming from what appeared to be life support systems. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Baker, "I'm detecting signals." They're trying to communicate." Thompson straightened his uniform. This was the moment that would go down in human history. "Put it on screen," he ordered. The main display lit up with a series of mathematical sequences, prime numbers, geometric progressions, the value of pi. It was the universal language of mathematics, the same way humans had always theorized first contact might begin. "Send back the next numbers in the sequences," Thompson commanded. "Let them know we understand." The exchange continued for several minutes before more complex mathematical symbols began appearing, gradually evolving into a crude but effective form of communication. The story that emerged was concerning. The fleet was stranded, their main drive systems completely dead. Thompson made a decision. He opened a channel to Space Command. "Control, this is UES Horizon. We have made contact with an alien fleet in distress. I repeat, we have confirmed alien contact, and they need our help. Requesting immediate support and the formation of a diplomatic channel." The response from Earth was swift. Within hours, more ships were on their way. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Humanity wasn't alone in the universe, and their first official contact was with a civilization that needed their help. As Thompson looked out at the massive fleet, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if they were alone. Now, in their first meeting with an alien species, they had the chance to show the best of what humans could be: compassionate, helpful, and resourceful. "Sir," Baker called out, "we're receiving more detailed communications. They're thanking us for responding." Apparently, several other species detected them, but chose to ignore their distress signals. Thompson nodded. That was a sobering thought. Out in the vastness of space, not every civilization chose to be good neighbors. "Well," he said, "that's not how we do things. Send word to the fleet. Tell them Earth stands ready to assist." As the message was transmitted, Thompson watched as lights began to flicker on across the alien vessels, as if hope itself was being rekindled. This was just the beginning, he knew. They had a massive task ahead of them. But if there was one thing humans were good at, it was solving problems. The first step of an incredible journey had been taken, and humanity had chosen to take it with open hands of friendship, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The meeting room aboard the UES Horizon was packed with both human officers and 3 alien representatives. The aliens were tall, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer under the ship's lights. Despite their strange appearance, their body language showed clear signs of exhaustion and worry. The lead alien, who had introduced himself as first speaker, used the translation device they had developed over the past few days. His voice came through with a slight metallic echo. "We must be honest with you," first speaker said, his large eyes reflecting the room's lights. "We are not merely travelers with engine trouble. We are refugees." Captain Thompson leaned forward in his chair. "Refugees? From what?" The alien touched a small device on his wrist, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed another species of aliens, their ships dark and angular, bristling with weapons. "The hunters," first speaker explained. "They attacked our home systems without warning. We were a peaceful species, focused on art and science. We had no weapons, no defenses. All we could do was run." The room fell silent as images of destruction played out in the hologram. The first speaker continued. "We gathered as many of our people as we could onto our civilian ships. But during our escape, the hunters damaged our quantum drive cores. We managed to make one last jump and ended up here." Lieutenant Wilson spoke up from her position near the door. "How long before your life support systems fail?" "Without main power," first speaker's translator crackled. "Perhaps 30 Earth days. We have 100,000 civilians aboard our ships. Many are children." Thompson shared a look with his officers. 100,000 lives. The scope of the crisis was enormous. Back on Earth, the United Earth Council had convened an emergency session. The chamber was filled with representatives from every nation, all watching the live feed from the horizon. "We cannot ignore this," said the Indian representative, standing at her podium. "It would go against everything humanity stands for." The Russian delegate nodded in agreement. "But can we support so many refugees? This would be the largest humanitarian operation in human history. Can we afford not to help?" The Nigerian representative's voice rang out clear. "What message would we send to the galaxy if we turn our backs on them?" As the debate continued in the council chamber, humans across Earth were already taking action. Space stations began clearing cargo bays to serve as temporary housing. Engineers started drawing up plans to modify life support systems for alien biology. Manufacturing plants retooled their lines to produce emergency supplies. The aliens watched all of this with growing amazement. First speaker turned to Captain Thompson after another transmission from Earth arrived. "We don't understand," he said softly. "Your species has never met us before. You know nothing about us. Yet you rush to help without hesitation. Why?" Thompson smiled. "Because it's the right thing to do. And because humans have a long history of helping those in need. But the resources you're committing, the risk you're taking, that's another thing about humans," Thompson replied. "We're at our best when faced with a challenge, especially when lives are at stake." The ship's comm system crackled. "Captain, we're picking up long-range signals. Very faint, but they match the energy signatures of the hunter vessels." First speaker's silvery skin paled further. "They've followed our trail. We thought we had more time." Thompson stood up, his face set with determination. "Then we'll have to work faster. Lieutenant Wilson, contact Earth. Tell them we need to speed up the evacuation plans and get me our best engineers. If those hunters want to harm these people, they'll have to go through humanity first." As the crew rushed to their stations, first speaker watched in wonder. His people had encountered many species in their history, but none quite like these humans. In their darkest hour, they had found not just allies, but champions. The race against time had begun, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they were made of. Chief Engineer Marcus stood in the engine room of one of the alien ships, his tablet displaying readings that made absolutely no sense. Around him, Both human and alien engineers worked together, trying to understand each other's technology. "So, you're telling me these quantum cores don't just power your ships?" he asked the alien engineer beside him. "They actually fold space." The alien, whose name roughly translated to Blue Star, nodded. He pointed to what looked like a massive crystal structure, now dark and lifeless. "The core creates a bubble of folded space around our ships. We travel through this bubble, moving great distances without actually moving at all." Marcus scratched his head. This was way beyond anything humans had developed. Their best ships, like the Horizon, still used advanced fusion drives. They were reliable and powerful, but nothing like these quantum cores. "The damage is too severe," Blue Star said sadly. "The hunters knew exactly where to hit us. Without the proper crystals, which can only be grown in our home system, repairs are impossible." Marcus wasn't ready to give up. If there was one thing humans were good at, it was finding ways around impossible problems. He keyed his comm unit. "Captain Thompson, I think I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work." 20 minutes later, the Horizon's main conference room was filled again. Marcus stood at the front, his work clothes still covered in engine grease. "We can't fix their quantum drives," he began, "but maybe we don't have to. What if we could modify our fusion drives to work with their ships?" First speaker tilted his head. "Your propulsion technology is very different from ours. The power systems are not compatible." "Exactly." Marcus grinned. "That's why it might work. The hunters damaged your quantum cores because they knew you couldn't replace them, but they've never dealt with human technology before." He pulled up a diagram on the room's main screen. "Look, your ship's power distribution systems are actually more advanced than ours. If we can connect our fusion drives to your power grid, we might be able to get your ships moving again. Not as fast as before, but fast enough to reach safety." The room burst into discussion. The alien engineers studied the human designs with growing interest, while human technicians began running calculations on their tablets. The modifications would be extensive. Blue Star noted, "We would need to rebuild the entire propulsion interface." "Then it's a good thing Earth has the biggest shipyards in the solar system," Thompson said, "and every one of them is ready to help." The next few days were a blur of activity. Ships from every nation on Earth arrived, carrying engineers, materials, and fusion drive components. The alien refugees watched in amazement as humans worked in shifts around the clock, refusing to stop until solutions were found. There were problems, of course. The first attempts to connect human fusion drives to alien power systems resulted in spectacular failures. But after each failure, the humans would gather, discuss what went wrong, and try again with a new approach. "I don't understand," Blue Star said to Marcus after another failed test. "Why do you keep trying? Most species would have given up by now." Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead and adjusted his tools. "That's not how humans work. Every failure teaches us something new. Besides, we've got 100,000 people counting on us. Giving up isn't an option." Blue Star was quiet for a moment. "In all our travels, we've never met a species quite like yours." "Well," Marcus smiled, checking the readings on his tablet, "there's something else you should know about humans. We do our best work under pressure. And speaking of pressure," he pointed to the latest test results. "Look at these numbers. I think we finally found our solution." As the engineers gathered around to examine the new data, a feeling of hope spread through the alien fleet. Perhaps these strange, determined humans really could accomplish the impossible. What they didn't know was that their biggest test was still to come. The warning alarms on the refugee ships began one by one, like a wave of red lights spreading across the fleet. Life support systems were failing faster than predicted. "How many ships are in critical condition?" Captain Thompson asked, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the status of each vessel. Lieutenant Wilson checked her readings. 17 ships have less than 48 hours of life support remaining. Combined passenger count, 12,000. First speaker's silver skin had taken on a dull gray tone. We did not expect the systems to degrade this quickly. The damage from the hunters must have been worse than we thought. Thompson pressed a button on his command chair. This is Captain Thompson to all Earth vessels. We are initiating Emergency Protocol Alpha. I repeat, Emergency Protocol Alpha is now in effect. Across the solar system, humanity's response was immediate. Space stations that had been preparing for refugees suddenly accelerated their timeline. Construction crews that had been working fast now worked faster. Every ship capable of carrying passengers was redirected to the rescue effort. The Mars Colonial Station, designed to house 10,000 people, began evacuating all non-essential personnel to make room. The Luna base converted its agricultural domes into temporary shelters. Even private space corporations offered their habitats and vessels to the cause. First transport ships are approaching the critical vessels now, Wilson reported. Medical teams are standing by. Thompson watched as the first group of refugee ships was evacuated. The aliens moved with careful precision despite their panic, following the emergency procedures that human and alien crews had practiced. Children were moved first, then the elderly and sick. Sir, Baker called from communications, long-range sensors are picking up more activity. The hunter signatures are getting stronger. Thompson nodded grimly. How long? At their current speed, 5 days at most. The news spread quickly through the rescue fleet. Instead of causing panic, it sparked something else. Determination. Human crews worked even faster, pushing themselves and their equipment to the limit. On one of the failing ships, a young alien child stumbled in the corridor as the artificial gravity flickered. Before she could fall, a human rescue worker named Mike scooped her up. "Don't worry, little one," he said, even though he knew she couldn't understand his words. "We're getting you out of here." The child's parent, watching this, touched their chest in their species' gesture of gratitude. Mike smiled and gave a thumbs up, a human gesture that had quickly spread among the aliens. Back on the horizon, Marcus reported from engineering. "Captain, we've got the first modified fusion drive ready for testing. But we need at least 3 more days to install enough drives to move the entire fleet. The critical ships don't have 3 days," Thompson replied. "Then we evacuate who we can and work faster on the drives," Marcus said firmly. "These people risked everything to save their children from the hunters. We're not going to let them down now." Around the fleet, human ships continued their rescue work. Space stations that had never seen an alien before opened their doors wide. Earth's nations, which often argued about everything, worked together without hesitation. First speaker watched all this from the horizon's bridge. "Your people are taking great risks," he said to Thompson. "If the hunters arrive before we can move the fleet, then we'll deal with that when it happens," Thompson replied. "Right now, we focus on saving lives." A small ship docked with the horizon, carrying more engineering supplies. With it came a message from Earth's United Council. "Whatever you need, you have it. Humanity stands with you." As another group of refugee children boarded a transport bound for Mars Station, a human crew member gave each one a small stuffed animal, toys donated by children on Earth. The alien parents were puzzled by this gesture until someone explained that on Earth, stuffed animals helped children feel safe. The race against time continued, but with each passing hour, humanity showed that when lives were at stake, there was nothing they wouldn't do to help. The question was, would it be enough? The makeshift laboratory aboard the Horizon had become a strange mix of human and alien technology. Holographic displays floated next to traditional computer screens, while alien crystal matrices sat beside human fusion components. Marcus wiped sweat from his forehead as he studied the latest test results. Beside him, Blue Star manipulated a 3-dimensional diagram of their hybrid drive system. "The power flow is still unstable," Blue Star said, pointing to a pulsing red section of the hologram. "Your fusion drives produce more raw energy than our systems were designed to handle." "Wait a minute," Marcus said, an idea forming. "What if that's not the problem? What if it's the solution? He quickly pulled up the original designs for the alien quantum cores. Look here, your drives didn't just power your ships, they created those space-folding bubbles. What if we could use our excess power to create something similar? First speaker, who had been quietly observing, moved closer. But we cannot recreate our quantum technology without the proper crystals. We don't need to recreate it exactly, Marcus explained, his excitement growing. We just need to create a similar effect. Your power distribution systems are incredibly efficient, if we can modify them to handle our fusion energy in a specific way. As they worked, something unexpected began happening throughout the fleet. The forced cooperation between humans and aliens was leading to other discoveries. In the medical bay, alien doctors shared their advanced healing techniques with human physicians. In return, humans introduced them to innovative emergency medical procedures developed for space accidents. Your bodies are different from ours, an alien medical officer named Bright Hope told Dr. Reynolds, but your methods for handling trauma are remarkably effective. Dr. Reynolds smiled as she demonstrated a new technique for treating radiation exposure that combined both species' knowledge. Sometimes the best solutions come from bringing different approaches together. In another part of the ship, alien children who had been evacuated were teaching human crew members their language, while learning English in return. The sound of mixed laughter, human and alien, echoed through the corridors. The breakthrough came 3 days into their work. Marcus and Blue Star had been running simulations for hours when everything suddenly aligned. Look at these readings, Marcus called out. The holographic display showed a stable energy pattern they hadn't seen before. The fusion drive isn't fighting against your power systems anymore. They're working together. Blue Star's silver skin rippled with excitement. The energy matrix, it's creating a modified version of our space folding effect. Smaller, but potentially just as effective. They immediately called a meeting on the bridge. Captain Thompson listened as Marcus explained their discovery. We can't match the pure speed of their original quantum drives, Marcus said, but this hybrid system could actually be more efficient. It combines the raw power of our fusion drives with the elegance of their power distribution network. How soon can we test it? Thompson asked. We've prepared a small-scale version for testing, Blue Star replied. If it works, we can begin modifying it for larger ships immediately. First speaker stepped forward. There is something else you should know. During our work together, my people have learned much from humans. Your creativity, your determination, they are traits we had lost in our pursuit of perfect technology. You have reminded us of their value. Thompson nodded. And we've learned from you too. Your technical knowledge, your peaceful approach to problems. They've changed how we think about a lot of things. Suddenly, Lieutenant Wilson's console lit up with alerts. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up multiple hunter vessels. They've accelerated. New arrival estimate is 36 hours. The room fell silent for a moment. Then Thompson stood up straight. Well then, we better make sure this hybrid drive works. Humanity didn't come this far to fail now. As the crew rushed to their stations, First speaker watched the humans spring into action once again. His people had sought refuge among the stars, but they had found something more valuable. Allies who faced challenges head-on, who saw problems as opportunities to grow stronger. The next few hours would prove just how strong they had become together. The modified fusion drive hummed with power as the engineering team made their final checks. They had installed the prototype on a small alien shuttle, hoping to prove their design worked before scaling it up for the larger ships. All power systems are in the green, Marcus reported from his station. Blue Star, how's the alien tech looking? The alien engineer studied his holographic readings. Power distribution networks are stable. The modified crystals are responding as predicted. Captain Thompson watched from the Horizon's bridge as the test shuttle moved into position. They had evacuated most of the critical ships, but thousands of refugees were still aboard vessels that needed working drives. With the hunters less than a day away, This test had to succeed. "Begin primary drive sequence," Thompson ordered. The shuttle's engines flared to life, a strange mix of human fusion fire and alien energy fields. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then the alarms started. "Power spike in the main coupling," Marcus shouted. "The field is becoming unstable." Blue Star's fingers danced across his controls. "The space fold effect is growing too quickly. We can't contain it." Thompson grabbed his comm unit. "Shut it down. Get that shuttle." Before he could finish, a brilliant flash of light filled the viewport. When it cleared, the shuttle was gone. "Did it?" Wilson swallowed hard. "Did it explode?" "No," Blue Star said, studying his instruments. "It jumped. The space fold effect worked, but we couldn't control it. The shuttle could be anywhere within 100 million kilometers." The bridge fell silent. They had come so close, only to fail when they needed success the most. But Thompson wasn't ready to give up. "How long to find the shuttle?" he asked. "With our combined sensor networks, maybe 2 hours," Marcus replied. "And how long to fix whatever went wrong?" Blue Star and Marcus shared a look. "If we can find the problem, maybe 3 hours," Blue Star said. "But we'd need another test ship." Thompson stood up straight. "Use the Horizon." Everyone on the bridge turned to stare at him. "Sir," Wilson protested, "if something goes wrong." "If something goes wrong, we lose one ship," Thompson said firmly. "If we do nothing, we lose an entire civilization. Begin the modifications immediately." The next 5 hours were a blur of activity. They found the test shuttle, intact but powerless, floating near Jupiter. The data it provided showed exactly what had gone wrong. The human fusion drive had created too much power too quickly, overwhelming the alien control systems. Marcus and Blue Star worked frantically to modify the Horizon systems, adding emergency buffers and control circuits. Every crew member who could help did so, human and alien working side by side. "Ready for test sequence," Marcus reported finally. "All modifications are complete." Thompson took his place in the command chair. "All non-essential personnel have been evacuated." "Yes, sir. Minimal crew only." "Very well." Thompson looked around at his volunteer crew. Every one of them had insisted on staying. "Begin drive sequence." The Horizon's engines roared to life. The hybrid drive system powered up, energy flowing through human and alien technology working in perfect harmony. "Power levels stable," Blue Star reported. "Space fold effect building. It's holding steady." "Sir," Wilson called out suddenly. Long-range sensors just picked up hunter ships entering the outer system. They're heading straight for the refugee fleet. Thompson gripped his chair. This was it. Their last chance to prove the system worked. "Take us out," he ordered. "Full power to the hybrid drive." The Horizon shuddered as both human and alien technology reached their peak. Outside the viewport, space itself seemed to bend and flex. Everything hung in the balance. If they succeeded, they could save the refugee fleet. If they failed, the ship surged forward, and the stars began to blur. The Horizon emerged from its space fold jump exactly where they had aimed, just outside Jupiter's orbit. The bridge crew held their breath as systems came back online. "Status report," Thompson called out, his voice steady despite the tension. "All systems functioning normally," Marcus reported from engineering. "The hybrid drive performed perfectly. We have full control." Blue Star's readings confirmed it. The space fold effect was 30% more efficient than our original calculations suggested. The human fusion drive's raw power, when properly controlled by our systems. He paused, his silver skin glowing with excitement. "It's revolutionary." Thompson didn't waste a moment. "Send the design specs to every shipyard in the system. Priority 1 transmission." He turned to communications. "Status of the Hunter fleet." 8 hours until they reach the refugee ships, sir," Baker replied. But the Earth Defense Fleet has moved to protect the evacuation zones. They won't have to hold for long, Thompson said. Wilson, plot a course back to the refugee fleet. Marcus, start transmitting the hybrid drive installation procedures. The next 6 hours were a testament to human efficiency and alien technology working in perfect harmony. Earth's shipyards, already prepared with the basic components, began mass-producing the hybrid drives. Space tugs delivered them to the refugee ships, where mixed teams of human and alien engineers installed them with practiced precision. First Speaker watched from the Horizons Bridge as ship after ship came online with the new drives. In all our history, he said quietly, no species has ever done for us what humanity has done. You didn't just save us, you made us stronger. A warning alarm cut through the moment. Hunter ships entering weapons range. Wilson called out. They're charging weapons. How many refugee ships still need drives? Thompson demanded. Just 3 more, Marcus replied. 15 minutes at most. They don't have 15 minutes, Baker said grimly. Hunter ships are launching missiles. Thompson stood from his chair. All Earth ships, defensive formation Delta. Protect those refugee ships at all costs. The space around the fleet lit up with weapons fire. Earth's ships, though less advanced than the Hunters, fought with desperate courage. They had come too far to fail now. Then something unexpected happened. The first refugee ship with a working hybrid drive moved to join the defense. Then another and another. What are they doing? Wilson asked in surprise. First Speaker stood proudly. We were a peaceful people, yes. But you humans taught us something important. Sometimes you must stand and fight for what matters. The Hunter ships faltered in their attack, clearly confused by the sight of their supposedly helpless prey turning to face them. And then the final refugee ships reported their hybrid drives were online. All ships, execute Jump Plan Alpha, Thompson ordered. Throughout the fleet, hybrid drives powered up. Space itself seemed to ripple as hundreds of ships, human and alien together, activated their drives in perfect synchronization. The Hunter ships launched a desperate barrage of missiles, but they were too late. In a flash of light that briefly outshone Jupiter itself, the combined fleet jumped. When they emerged near Mars, a cheer went up through every ship's communication channel. We did it, Marcus said quietly, looking at the readouts. Every ship made it. The celebration that followed was unlike anything either species had seen before. On Earth, humans opened their homes to alien refugees who needed temporary shelter. On Mars and Luna, new communities were built where both species could live and work together. But perhaps the most significant change came 6 months later, when the first joint human-alien starship was launched. Built with hybrid drive technology and crewed by members of both species, it represented something entirely new in the galaxy, a partnership based on the best qualities of both civilizations. As Captain Thompson watched the new ship launch from Earth's orbit, First Speaker stood beside him. The Hunters thought they would destroy us, First Speaker said. Instead, they led us to find something far greater than safety. They led us to find true allies. Thompson smiled. That's the thing about humans. We don't just solve problems. We build something better from them. He looked out at the stars, now filled with more possibility than ever before. So, where shall we go next? The answer, they both knew, was anywhere they chose to go. Together.